Welcome to Generating Demand, real stories from the B2B trenches, where we tell you our secrets, like how to establish thought leadership or rock your webinar registrations, and tips and tricks to drive sales-ready leads. Lean in, listen, and learn. We've got you covered. This podcast is brought to you by Virtual Intelligence Briefing.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. It's so nice to meet you, Kasey.
Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I would like to welcome everyone to another episode of Generating Demand, Stories from the B2B Trenches. I'm so excited to have this episode here with Kasey Bayne today. A little bit of background on Kasey. Kasey is an individual consultant with a specialty in HubSpot, which is near and dear to my heart as well. But prior to HubSpot, you have been a CMO of an agency. Mm-hmm. You have worked at Olark Live Chat, and you have also worked at FreshBooks. And now pivoted to doing individual consulting, which I have made that same move myself. So it's so nice to meet you. And my cat wants to say hi to you.
Excellent.
So say hi, and then I'm going to put her down.
Meeting are always a plus.
Kasey, let's talk a little bit about marketing operations and what that means to you. I know it's a hot topic right now in the marketing space. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah. So marketing operations, RevOps, all of that kind of sphere in the marketing world is something that is really important to me. And it's kind of nice to put a name to a lot of the work that we as marketers have been doing for a long time. So it's really about being able to take like that analytics and metrics, as well as all the technology and tools that we have right now to be able to see really like the impact of your work. So it takes it beyond like, what is our cost per lead? What's our cost of acquisition? But really going into like, what are the pieces of content that our customers are engaging with? How effective is like one particular channel or one particular campaign for a certain segment of audience? Are people spending more if they come through this campaign? Do we get more leads through this style of campaign? So really, like, I love it because it combines like my nerdy numbers side with my creative marketing side, and being able to put them together to really like prove the value of marketing. And that's really rewarding as a marketer.
Yes, that is my what brought me to marketing as well. It's like part science with the analytics and the math, excuse me, and being able to look at the numbers and understand the metrics and build models. And then it's the creative side too of, just creative problem solving. I would say that I don't identify as a creative, right? I can use Canva, but only with a little help. I'm not a designer, so to speak. My family has that skill. I don't. But I do love the mix of both the art and the science. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and as you said, the marketing operations is such a hot topic right now. I know that I rely on marketing operations to do all kinds of things, to help me deploy campaigns, to help me pull lists, to help me understand the metrics, help me measure the effectiveness of my programs and campaigns that we've deployed, and then as the company as a whole. So I'm so excited to have you here. You have a fantastic story. We were just talking about it a little bit earlier, and I'm so excited to share it today. Let's talk about it. It was with FreshBooks. Is that right?
Yeah. So I started at FreshBooks. I was one of the early employees there. And one of the projects that I was given was to really develop the accountant channel. So for those of you that don't know, FreshBooks is a really great invoicing and accounting platform for creative professionals. Super easy to use. Most of our audience and most of our customers were folks like graphic designers, web developers, like really that creative professional niche. And where we were running into trouble was that when people would go to their accountants and say, hey, you know what, I'm using this great system for my accounting, the CPA would say, hey, I've never heard of this. You should use QuickBooks instead, which is just like way too much for most non-accountants. So, so my job was to really build out that channel. And the CEO and CMO kind of tasked me with just figuring it out. And at that point in time, I had never had that kind of like freedom to just kind of like develop my own role. And I think that's something that a lot of marketers, especially if you're working in a startup or in a smaller company, like really have the opportunity to do. I was joking with Amanda earlier. I always say that I had come from a more corporate background when I started at FreshBooks. And I like to joke that I was the only one with a collared shirt and an iron. And that's why I got the accountant. But it was great to kind of be able to figure out, okay, so we have this really strong like brand. We have this really strong reputation with creative professionals. I mean, we were doing like South by Southwest. We were doing like every cool tech event out there, but that's not where our accountants were. And even within accountants itself, although they have a reputation as kind of like a more traditional, kind of like a bit outdated industry, like one of the challenges and one of like the main benefits to me once I kind of figured it out was, instead of looking at accountants just like as this this all of them are the same, like really figuring out like within that industry, like where are the folks that are gonna be attracted to our brand. So where are the people that, sorry, go ahead.
I want to pause there and just drive that home because, I've been doing marketing for a long time, and, there are ways to pull lists either from your own database or from external databases, third-party programs, et cetera, based on targeting criteria that's very standard, right? Mm-hmm. Geography, company size by employee or by revenue. In fact, with VIB, who sponsors this podcast, we do all of our programs on geo, on company size, on title, level, either be a practitioner or a C-suite. But there are softer ways to pull lists, and that's what you were tasked with, right? Like, I don't want just a universe of accountants. I want accountants that are embracing new technology.
Exactly.
Now, how do you find those people? That sounds really hard.
It is tough because, I mean, you could look at, okay, let me just, go to LinkedIn and pull everyone with 1 to 2 years experience because they'll be younger. But I mean, that's not the audience that we're looking for. Like, we're looking for, the firm owners, like the really, the senior people in these accounting firms that are still tech savvy and kind of want to understand like this new generation of business owners. So instead of, exactly like you said, I started out with just like the traditional, okay, I'm just going to pull a list of like all the CPAs in like this general area. But what I was able to do is, like, once I found those people who like really connected with our brand and were excited to bring new technology to their clients and help better serve their clients. I mean, first of all, looking at accountants that like help small businesses, that work with tech companies, that like work with our target audience. A lot of it is, and then I said, okay, you know what? My goal for this next 3 months is I'm going to get 100 accountants who fit our target market, and I'm going to talk to all of them. I'm going to send them emails. I'm going to get them like onboarded with our program. And
okay, I want to pause there,
yeah,
because that's huge. So you found a list of 100 accountants and you reached out to them, I suppose, via email with some kind of language of, I just want to have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I didn't even find the list. Like, I had to make it. And right. A lot of it was exactly like, so a lot of it was, finding those, even starting with, okay, who on social media is like, an accountant who's talking about technology, is an accountant who's like embracing like all of the networks that are out there. Like, there are thought leader accountants who are on like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of that, and then going through their lists and seeing who they follow and who they engage with, and then being able to build out the list that way. So it is certainly like a lot of manual work at the beginning, but when you're really trying to figure out like, who is my target market, and like getting really specific in your persona and like getting those early adopters, because then they're going to spread it with their network, and you're going to learn more of those qualifiers so that you can say, you know what, I'm going to, once I've talked to these 100 people, I can say, okay, you know what, these are the industry publications that I want to be working with. These are the conferences where these like tech savvy, client focused accountants are at. And like that really gives you ideas about where to market your stuff. And not to say they were all winners. I mean, there were some great conferences that I attended, year after year, presented, had the booth, did the whole thing that were, great lead and revenue generators for us. But then there were also events that, a lot of people were like, yeah, I always go to this like state CPA society event, and going to it and realizing, okay, these 5 people might always go, but it turns out they're the only 5 in the group of 100. That's our actual target market. So it is some experimentation, and especially at the beginning when you're trying to, especially for a lot of like more traditional industries where the majority of people are, accounting is a very standardized industry. A lot of like, we're just going to keep doing it like same as last year, that kind of like more traditional industry. So finding those people that kind of like want to break through and be the early adopters, but also like be the change makers is really exciting, and just like really exciting to be part of that, as a marketer and like just as a business professional, like being able to kind of see the change that is happening and figuring out like how can my software support them, but like how can I support these individuals? Like, so we had them on webinars for our small business customers. Because I mean, I don't know any entrepreneur that is not happy to have an hour with an accountant, to ask all of your questions about like sales tax and quarterly payments.
Awesome.
And so really like kind of bringing our two audiences together and saying like, okay, how can they benefit from each other? Like, how can we provide a resource for our small business customers and also bring more revenue to our CPA and our accountant customers, and like make that connection?
Yeah. So there was a lot in what you just said that I want to drive home for the audience. And so one of the first things you said was, understanding the conferences that your target audience goes to and the publications that they read. I was actually in a call yesterday where we were doing exactly that, asking the sales team, like, what are they reading? Where are they going? These are the people that we want to talk to. I think another thing that might be helpful to the audience, and you mentioned it too, the CPA state conferences. Sometimes it's not a fancy publication. Sometimes it's a professional organization. I know that I've had a lot of success with professional organizations. It can also be, as you said, sort of the non-sexy like state, especially when you're dealing with compliance, like lawyers or accountants, or sometimes state and local governments like K through 12. They have these kind of, lunch and learns or things like that. So those are good options. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you talked about building that list of 100, having those personal conversations, reading those materials that they're reading, going to those trade shows that they're going. And I think what you said was really important. It's a little bit of trial and error. It's the manual effort at first, but the learnings come out of that. And not every effort is beneficial, right? There were some that you learned a lot.
Oh,
it may not have been successful, but you learned a lot. That's
and
huge.
It's just important, especially when you're starting a new marketing program, whether you're going into a new industry or you're starting a new role with a company, is like really doing that one-to-one work where you're actually talking to your target customer, whether they're using your product or not. Especially in a case like this, like we didn't actually have a ton of accountant users that I could just go to already. So a lot of it was like, how do you solve this problem? And also, I cannot emphasize enough the value of like using the language that your target audience is using. It is really so important. I mean, I've seen this throughout my career where you kind of have like this internal jargon or like this kind of industry speak that you get used to, especially in tech. I find that we do this a lot. More than once, my sister has said to me at Thanksgiving, like, I don't know what you just said. When you talk about like having the bandwidth to do something at a family dinner, it's like, that's not how normal people talk. And there's also like really understanding, not just like in general conversation, but also like, what do they call like the result that they're getting? What do they call this report? What do they call this kind of technology tool? So that you are using the language that they understand, rather than just like defaulting to like your SaaS or your tech talk.
Yeah. And you said something else that I really thought valuable for the audience too. You brought the two universes together. You had groundswell, if you will, or market share, or whatever, good traction with the creatives from the users and customers of it. But your accountants were sort of, I don't know, would they be channel partners, or
Channel
is that
partners
what they
is the best
channel
way to
partners?
describe it.
Yeah. You had your partners there, and then bringing those two audiences together in these webinars is so smart. So tell me, so you've done all this research, and that took you how long do you think? Month, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah. So I had set my own timeline with like, okay, I'm going to set a 3-month window. These are the metrics I hope to achieve. This is the budget I'm looking to get. And really like setting my goals for myself for, okay, this is what I'm going to accomplish like in the first 3 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which I think is so not only like motivating for myself, I'm definitely a planner, but also when you start a new role and when you start a new job, there's a book called The First 90 Days, which is
I have that book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing to think about, not only to like prove to your boss or your CEO or your new client, like, hey, here's what I'm going to accomplish, but also for yourself, just to have a bit of a plan while you're trying to find your footing and say, okay, these are the things I'm looking to do. This is what I want to accomplish. And in that case, like, this is what I always say when I'm working with, more junior teams, is the numbers themselves that you set for yourself, especially at the beginning, they're just like industry averages. They're like your gut feeling. They're from your experience. They're from any customer company data you can dig up, which in some cases is a lot, in some cases is none. But the most important thing is just like knowing how to measure and being able to just start tracking that kind of detail. Whether it's like, at the very beginning, it's like, this is how many emails I sent, this is how many phone calls I made, all the way through to, this is how many people have created an account with us. This is how many people have referred a customer. And like really going through the funnel in terms of metrics, not just in terms of activities.
Yeah, that is awesome. So tell me, so you spent about a quarter doing the research and sort of tracking your efforts. And I love that you built out a plan for yourself and went so far as to do the math on your budget. I think that's huge. And then what happened?
Yeah. So from there, the program was successful. I was able to get a bunch of accountants on board, and not only that, have them, talking about us in industry publications and like being quoted in, articles that I was guest writing for accounting publications. I was being invited to speak at like the AICPA, which is the American Institute of CPAs, which is very cool. And
cool.
Like really being able to establish ourselves as a credible player in this market. So if you were an accountant who's working with small businesses, or you want to get more tech clients, like, you've got to talk to the FreshBooks folks and get them involved. And it is amazing to see, even years later, although I am no longer there, to see like what the team's been able to do, to have like, not just one person doing this and trying to put things together, but like to have a whole team of like customer success folks focused just on accountants, having a team of like sales reps, of marketing folks, to be able to see that grow and to be able to know, okay, like the work that I did in like proving this and building it out has like grown into something so incredible, which I think is like so rewarding as a marketer. I mean, even for companies that you're no longer at, you can kind of, it's important to know like the work that you did made a difference, even if you're not there anymore. To kind of see things be successful after you left is really rewarding as well.
Yes, that's, I think, one of my favorite parts of the job is to see the results and to know that you had an impact.
Exactly.
A positive impact on the company and the bottom line, right? That's what drives me. And if it's for whatever it's worth, and it may not be worth much, but I am a FreshBooks user, and my accountant said to me recently just invite me to your FreshBooks. Send me the reports right from there. It'll make it super easy.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. And he is an old school accountant, 30 years of experience.
Yep.
So I know that he's a fan as well. So
that's
awesome. So Kasey, it's been so fun. I love that story. I'm obviously a FreshBook user. I selfishly love it. It makes my life really easy. It makes my accounting and reporting really easy. I know you don't work there anymore. I'm just authentically saying I am a fan. Yeah. So now we come to the point in our podcast where I like to ask if there are any resources that you have encountered in your life that have helped you get to where you are today. I know that some of our listeners may be, earlier in their career. We've certainly benefited from a lot of experience and a lot of opportunities, but we don't get there on our own, right? We certainly don't get there by ourselves. So do you have any resources that you'd like to share with the audience that they might benefit from?
Yeah, so I have a couple of favorites. Awesome. I've told Amanda I'm a giant HubSpot fangirl. It is one of my specialty areas. And the HubSpot blog is just like a gold mine of resources. There are templates for everything. So whether you're trying to put together like cost per lead metrics, or you're trying to develop your persona, go to the HubSpot blog. There is a template to at least get you started. It's much easier to start from something than to start from nothing. So definitely recommend that. And go ahead.
That's a big one. I was going to say, I have been a longtime HubSpot fangirl myself.
Yes.
And I did not know until today that there were templates for reports.
Yeah.
I know that I've been there for email templates and writing templates, but I had no idea that there were reporting templates there as well. So you even taught me something today. Thank you so much for that.
Excellent.
Yes. And I just might leverage those.
It's a great starting point because it can be tough when you're trying to create something out of nothing. So always good to get some insight. Plus, HubSpot knows what they're doing, so they won't steer you wrong. My second resource is from a company called Unbounce. They're a great resource to create free landing pages and that kind of stuff. But they also put out every year a conversion benchmark report. So what this is it'll show you conversion rates by industry and break things down so that you can see if the campaigns that you're putting out, how they compare to industry average. And although I say the most important thing is just to really be better than you were yesterday, I think that's my marketing and really my life philosophy. But being able to know, okay, what kind of range is reasonable? What kind of range do other companies get? And also, what are some tips to help improve my conversion rates? So definitely check that out. I know Amanda's going to share the link as well, so you can all check it out.
Yes. I will put that in our podcast show notes. I did not know that existed. I was sharing with Kasey prior to recording this that is a life changer. I wish I had known about that earlier in my career. So often I have looked for what's an average conversion, or what is it, something that I could expect, right? What is the middle of the road, high or low? How can I benchmark the metrics that we're seeing against what is a good, and I say that in air quotes, what is a good conversion? And so I know that will be incredibly useful, not only to myself, but to all of our listeners as well. So that's huge. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Kasey, it's been so fun chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. No, it was great to nerd out on marketing with you today.
I do love to nerd out on marketing. It's the best. Well, thank you, Kasey. And I look forward to when our paths cross again.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
If you have any questions, want to suggest topics, or have ideas for guest speakers, drop us a line at podcast@virtualintelligencebriefing.com. To learn more of our demand generation secrets, visit vibriefing.news or grab the link in our show notes.